Healthy people have more willpower than everyone else. So I think a lot of the time we look at people, whether they are healthy or they're achieving something that we want to achieve, and maybe we wish to be more like them. Often, this is the kind of lens that we should be looking through. Like, we ignore the sacrifice, the context, or even the obsession and the negative behaviors actually that led to that person being healthy, right? And so healthy people or people who we look up to in whatever way, they often, appear like they've got everything figured out. They've got it all balanced, and they've got this, as Marvin says, this superhuman level of self-control. And we tend to like idolize these people. And one of like the biggest things I can sort of share with you here is that gaining or like changing, whether that's fat loss, whether that's growing muscle, whatever, is so much harder than just maintaining. And so for me, as an example, right, I spent I don't know, from 17 to 30 trying to put on as much muscle mass as I could, right? And it was an obsession. And there was a lot of negative behaviors that came with that, or like obsessive behaviors. But the good thing in sort of in hindsight about obsession is that you are so deep into the thing. You're finding out all the information. You understand at a glance what is in this plate of food in front of you in terms of calories and macros. You get your 5 sessions, 6 sessions a week without fail. Like nothing's getting in your way. Like that is obsession. And so now, like dialed down obsession just looks like discipline. It looks like I've got my shit together, and it looks like sort of I'm healthy. But in order to get to that point, I had to be horrifically obsessed. I said no to social occasions. I stayed in my room reading forums about bodybuilding on a Friday night, these sorts of things. That is what leads people to kind of like come back to healthy a lot of the time. And so, like Manira, I think you mentioned it the other day, kind of people there's like people getting faster results, right? It's kind of like, are you understanding of what it takes to get that? And are you willing to do that as well? Because yes, you can sort of super or sort of kind of speed run your way to a result, but it's going to be all encompassing. It has to be an obsession. It's like with all these, Marvin, you mentioned it, the sort of Michael Jordan side of things, all these top performing athletes, like the best in the world, are all wildly obsessed, right? We all want to have their talent. We all want to be like them, whatever sort of discipline that's in. But like none of us are willing to sacrifice what it takes to do that, along with all of the other genetics and God-given talents that they may have. So I appreciate I rambled on a bit there, Melvin, but any kind of builds under that?
No, no, no. Good. That was really good. I mean, Abdullah also mentioned mental resilience, rather, I guess a question. And I mean, I would agree with that, right? Because um, oftentimes, like Pete, I mean, we're going to have to preemptively speak about this. We might then have a little bit of a chat around this with Pete and talking about some of the things that he has learned and also had to unlearn, right? Because that obsession then leads to having to unlearn a lot of things that he's, picked up over the years, which weren't so healthy, right? So we won't, maybe let's not delve too deeply just yet. Save it for the next one. But yeah, it is really interesting how we're not always willing to do what everyone else is doing, and so we then think that we can't do it, right? Or we just don't understand what they did to get to the point that they're at, and it's not really healthy.
So
Okay,
yeah, I
so
think. Sorry,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Pete. We
Okay.
think that this
After you, mate. Carry on, carry on, carry on.
we think that there's something wrong with us, right? Like having this very pessimistic view of who we are because we can't do what so and so did, kind of as Pete touched on with Munira. So what we want to do is actually start to think about habit design as opposed to willpower, right? We want to be creating systems that avoid relying on willpower, planning our meals in advance. So, something that I've touched on a couple of times with people is, people don't know what they want to eat. It's like, oh, what do I eat here? What do I do? What do I do? Right? Relying on feelings, similarly to relying on motivation, right? So create systems, right? Start to plan your week in advance. So every Saturday night, sit down for 20 minutes. It doesn't probably doesn't even take that much longer than that. And sort of plan what your meals are going to look like. Obviously, we have all these resources in the app, right? In the resources tab with the What Should I Eat guide. You can have a look at that and see some of the meals in which you can start to prepare, looking at things like your protein, your carbohydrates, your fats, your fruits, your vegetables, right? Things like that, creating all these systems, setting an alarm to walk for 10 minutes every 2 hours, right? Or an even better one is to walk 10 minutes after every meal, right? You're essentially creating systems and things that you can do consistently, rather than trying to think that, I have to willpower my way through all of this, right? How can you expect to achieve something if you're not willing to change the habits that you've always done, right? You need to start to create new habits, new skills. And those things aren't going to come, naturally, automatically. Systems need to be sort of put in place to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think just on that as well, like you mentioned the feelings side of things. And a lot of time from clients we have, oh, but I hate eating the same thing twice, or I like variety, I'm a foodie, and so on and so on. Which is fine, which is absolutely fine. The problem with that is if you are like making, a million and one decisions in the day, you're running around after the kids, you're busy at work, trying to then think about variety and having something different, you have no decisions left in you. Like you have this fatigue from managing all your decisions and stuff during the day that then the easiest thing, if you don't have a system or you don't have structure or you don't have a set of like reliable meals you can go to, is then, you order from outside. Simple. So really like there's always a trade-off, right? If you want to really sort of focus on, let's say, fat loss, right, then you're going to have some element of predictability and boredom and structure into your routine. You can't just wing it every day. And this is one of the things that sort of Marvin alluded to earlier is at the moment, as of what is it, like 3, 4 weeks ago, I've been kind of working on my own sort of, fat loss, right? I want to sort of shed a few kilos. And man, it's difficult. Like honestly, it's really, really difficult knowing or like having variety or not having sort of structure. And so, because I was obsessed with stuff back in my 20s, obviously, I've been able to kind of like flick a switch. But even then, it's really challenging. And the things that have helped me the most is like predictability and routine, even if it's boring, right? Because boring, unfortunately, wins 9 times out of 10 when it comes to stuff like this. So you have to repeat, you've got to have the same structure, you've got to do the same things day after day, week after week, because the more you do that for a short period of time, you are going to, like, again, like fast track the results, right? If you can lock in for 2 months of eating the same things each day, then you will get much faster results than if you are just eating randomly each day. Now, there's always like a middle ground, and rate of progress is sort of depending on that. But I think it's really important to sort of appreciate that the basics, the structure, the systems, the boring nature of things is always going to win. Variety is all well and good, but variety is often what got us into this place in the first place, right? With like ordering burgers for dinner because you can't be bothered to cook anything, or ordering your Habitain shawarma because it tastes so good on a Friday, or whatever. So I think you sort of get my point there.
I thought variety was the spice of life.
It is, but it can come in different ways. Like,
We've,
for example, I have the
yeah,
same breakfast, I have same meal number one, I have same meal number two, but dinner, I sort of make it a little bit more exciting. And that's where I get my variety from. So it's variety can happen just, within reason.
being conscious
Jemana,
of.
actually, great question. We're actually going to create a sort of our next group coaching on this, and this is going to be tactics people can use to make fat loss easier, basically. So whether that is, calorie banking, calorie buffers, postponing the first meal, volume eating, like I think you mentioned before in our last one, these are going to be things that we cover in detail. So yes, it can be used, but still it's very easy to go over, basically.
Awesome. We've got one more myth, right, Pete? Do you want to tackle that last one? We've got quite a few
Oh no,
questions.
we got this picture just quickly. So if you listen to my podcast, which I'm sure you all do, the other week I had an episode all about the AMCC, which is this anterior mid-cingular cortex within the brain. And just on the topic of willpower, this is something that gets bigger or get smaller depending on if you use it, right? So it's like the saying, Marvin, you should know this based on your rugby days, sort
Use
of
it or lose
use it
it.
or lose it, right? So if you don't use the ability or the capability, then you're going to lose it. It's going to get weaker, right? So just like with the injury side of things we were talking about earlier, if you don't use your knee or the muscles around the knee, they're going to get weaker. Use it or lose it. And so the same thing is true with this area of the brain, right? And so willpower is not just, a God-given thing. It's not, I mean, I'm sure there's a genetic component to it, but really it's a muscle, in essence, that can be trained, right? It's an area of the brain that can be trained. And just like Amani's saying with her gratitude, it's something that with time can sort of rewire your behavior, your thinking, and your habits. So just like how your muscles get bigger with time, so can this area of the brain, the AMCC. And this is done just like with reps and weights in the gym. It's done by doing things that you don't want to do, doing hard things. And by simply doing what you don't want to do and doing things that are challenging, it makes you more resilient. It gives you more, in inverted commas, willpower. And equally, if you stop doing hard things, it can turn you into like, a couch potato, someone who doesn't want to do anything because it's hard, because it's too difficult, because, nah, right? So you can really, like, I guess the exciting part of this is it takes away or it repositions the locus of control from like an external thing of, oh my God, like this person has so much willpower, or I wish I had willpower, to actually now I can own it. I'm responsible for it. If I do more hard shit, then I'm going to become more resilient and sort of have tenacity within that and be able to follow through on the things that I say. So I think this is quite empowering to people who feel like they can train it, they can own it, they can make it adapt rather than just thinking, ugh, I have no willpower. Alas, I'm done.